Okay, so this is part 2 to chapter 23, section 3, regarding Hitler and Nazi Germany. So once in power, Hitler moved pretty quickly to end the Republic and create a fascist totalitarian state. In March of 1933, the Reichstag building was destroyed by fire magically. Hitler blamed the communists and convinced President Hindenburg to authorize the brown shirts to crush them. He also convinced the Reichstag to pass a law that gave him personal emergency powers to govern. Hitler used this law to bring Germany totally under Nazi control. All other political parties were banned. Nazis were appointed to head all state and local governments. Labor unions were dissolved and replaced with Nazi organizations. After Hindenburg died in 1934, Hitler combined the offices of president and chancellor and took the title of Führer, or leader. Hitler also crushed all possible rivals, even those within the Nazi party. During one night in June of 1934, he had the head of the SA and many other SA commanders killed. Political opponents outside the party were also murdered. Hitler turned to the SS, the German initials, I guess, for Defense Corps, an elite troop who pledged personal loyalty to the Führer to be his private army. The SS was responsible for Germany's internal security. Some units acted as police and rounded up people who the Nazis considered to be enemies of the state. Arrests, which at first focused on communists and socialists, soon extended to other groups, and especially to Jews. The SS was aided by the Gestapo, Nazi Germany's secret police. Gestapo officers used torture, terror, and other brutal methods to gain information. The Nazis gradually took control of all phases of German life. Most Germans supported Nazi rule, or at least accepted it. They were tired of the instability and unrest that characterized the Weimar Republic. Many welcomed the strong and seemingly effective government the Nazis provided. Unemployment fell as jobless Germans went to work on huge public works projects. Many found work in weapons factories as Hitler prepared to restore Germany's military power. Militarization. Many Germans who opposed Nazi rule fled the country. Most of the rest were frightened into silence, hoping that Hitler would eventually be overthrown. So looking at how Hitler appealed to the people, he basically appealed to their anger and resentment. Germans were angry about how they were treated at the end of World War I and what the Treaty of Versailles did to them. Furthermore, Hitler pledged to restore Germany's greatness. He used propaganda and fascist rallies. When he eventually took power, he lowered unemployment rates by hiring a ton of Germans looking for work to do public works projects. And so we're going to learn now about, just very briefly, the campaign against Jews. Hitler had explained his intensely anti-Semitic or anti-Jewish views in his book Mein Kampf. That's the book he wrote after he was arrested in the 1920s when he attempted to illegally take over the government. He wrote that Jews were a parasite within the nation and a menace. He came to view them as the incarnation of evil. Within days of taking control, Hitler began his campaign against German Jews. It started with brown shirt attacks on Jewish communities across Germany. The police did not stop the attacks. Violence against Jewish businesses and their employees caused many of them to close down. SA and SS members put up signs warning the public not to enter stores owned by Jews. Later, all Jewish businesses had to display signs indicating their Jewish ownership. The Nazis tried to eliminate Jews from Germany's economy by limiting their ability to work. In April of 1933, all Jews in government jobs were forced to resign. In January of 1934, they were banned from working for any non-Jewish business. They were also banned from farming. Their land was seized and turned over to non-Jewish farmers. Limits were set on the number of Jews who could teach school or practice medicine or law. Jewish communities set up organizations to help the unemployed. In 1935, Jews were stripped of their citizenship. Marriages between Jews and other Germans were forbidden. Those are called Nuremberg laws. I would recommend Googling those if you're interested in learning more. The law defined a Jew as anyone with more than one Jewish grandparent. Jews eventually were required to carry identity cards. Meanwhile, the Nazis encouraged and even organized steadily increasing violence against the Jewish population. The worst violence took place the night of November 9, 1938, when Nazis launched attacks on Jewish communities all across Germany. Mobs smashed their way into homes, dragged Jews out of bed, and beat them. More than 1,000 people were killed. Jewish schools, cemeteries, and synagogues were vandalized. The windows of thousands of Jewish businesses were smashed and the shops looted. The terror became known as Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass. Thousands of Jews fled Germany after Hitler came to power, even though they were required to leave all their money behind. Legal emigration, or leaving, stopped in October of 1938 when all Jews had to hand in their passports. In early 1939, Hitler stated that war would mean the extermination of the Jewish race in Europe. The outbreak of World War II in September of 1939 set Hitler's genocidal plan into motion. So that's kind of leading us directly into World War II, Hitler's violent and forward actions towards Jews, towards reclaiming what he believed to be Germany's rightful place as a leader in Europe. So ultimately, the actions that Hitler took to take control of the country remember earlier we had talked about the Reichstag, that German parliament building was destroyed by fire. There are some theories out there that actually Hitler ordered that to happen because he believed that it would happen, but historically I don't have any proof of that one way or the other. Hitler convinced the parliament to grant him personal emergency powers to govern. He blamed that fire on the communists in Germany. So after he got that power, he moved to consolidate that power. He tortured people, he was really brutal, and he kind of terrorized people. He outlawed all political parties that were not the Nazis, and in 1934, he had his SS members murder many of his political opponents. And quite honestly, that's just the beginning with Adolf Hitler. We'll learn a lot more about what kinds of things that he did in chapter 24.